What is good, family? Welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to talk about fantasy fucking football because the draft is coming and we got to get ready. Let's spark it up and talk football right after this. I fucking love some fantasy fucking football. So we got a king palm here, and I'm going to run down kind of the draft and kind of go through what players you should be targeting in your draft. And if you've already drafted, maybe you could work out some trades. Comment below if you have drafted already, what you got. Let's talk fantasy football, man. It's one of my favorite things. And if you have leagues that you need to fill a spot, come at me, bro. So before you get started, if you are a fan of fantasy football, I suggest you subscribe right now because I am going to try to come out with some fantasy football shit every couple of weeks. If you guys play DraftKings, which I do, I'd love to do a weekly DraftKings pick, maybe show you my lineup of what I'm doing, my strategy behind why I picked that, and we could talk more about that shit. But let's dive right in, shall we? Let's start off by talking about quarterbacks this year. Now, I'm sure you guys know this guy, Pat Mahomes, right? If he was on your team last year, there is a good chance you won the fantasy football season last year. He was on mine. Actually, in one of mine, I have him as a keeper, believe it or not, which is like, forget it, we're keeping him for years. And I also have Odell fucking Beckham on that team too. So we have two keepers that are first round draft picks, and we're gonna build off that, where we're gonna go running back. But I've divulged, let's really break it down with quarterbacks. Talk who after Pat Mahomes you need to be grabbing. Because you know the first couple rounds, he might leave in like the third round. Some people are gonna sneak him in the first. If you have a quarterback heavy league, forget it, he's gone first pick. Really, you're gonna just have to slide on Pat Mahomes unless you really wanna dig in on that offense this year, which it's just getting better. Obviously, they lost nobody and they added parts. That O-line is fucking ridiculous and they're gonna protect him. And their running back, Damian Williams, is one of the fastest fucking guys in the league, dude. So be ready for some high-flying offense there. Get a piece of it, whether it's Kelsey, whether it's Hill, any of the new wide receivers there. I think they added Calvin Benjamin from the Panthers. Just look around, see what you could find, maybe grab a Chiefs player late, stash him on the bench. It's gonna be an interesting team this year. I'm gonna tell you who to avoid, really. And these are some players that I think are going out. Obviously, Andrew Luck. Sorry, buddy. You had a great career. We love you and we wish you all the best. But unfortunately, you will not be being drafted this year. But Jacoby Brissett might be a nice sleeper late rounds. Let's not forget about him. So people to avoid. Right off the bat, I'm going Cam Newton. And people are gonna look at me and go, what, bro? Look, I'm a Panthers fan. And I'm a Cam Newton fan. And let's be real, when it comes to fantasy football, he is top tier. He's usually the number one, but not this year when it comes to the tiers. I'm putting him in the second tier of quarterbacks, surrounding him with guys like Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz, Baker Mayfield, who I would take ahead of Cam Newton this year if possible, just because Cam's injured, man. He's got a flat tire right now. Last year, his shoulder, he can't throw. From somebody who threw for a living, I used to be a pitcher in baseball, that shoulder is a motherfucker. It only has a certain amount of time on it before it's just not the shoulder it used to be anymore. And Cam is starting to hit that point. He can't throw the long ball, man. I never forget last year watching one of the last games when they had to throw a Hail Mary. It was two of the last games right before he got injured. Throws a Hail Mary and couldn't even fucking reach. So the next game, they have to, when it's Hail Mary time, they bring in the backup to throw the Hail Mary. Forget about it. Sleep on Cam this year. If he sneaks to round 7 or 8, maybe 9, then consider taking him. But that team this year, I'm really, really worried about that offense this year. Christian McCaffrey, obviously, we'll talk about him in a little bit. Stick with him, but other than that, sleep on Cam. Totally, for sure. Another person I'm going to say avoid, Sam Darnold. There's no reason to draft a Jets quarterback this year. They got Lev Bell. They're going to rely heavy on the run. Let's just sleep on the Jets quarterback. But let me give you 3 quarterbacks right now you need to grab. And start it off with Baker fucking Mayfield. When he came on last year, he was top 5. If not top 3 quarterback by the end of the year, depending on what kind of league and bonuses you have in your league. The guy took me from worst to almost first. It was amazing what he was doing in my league. Very, very impressive with Baker. Again, added Odell. They got Jarvis on the other side. They got the tight end. That's the freak of nature. They added running. They have blocking. If Baker isn't drafted by the 6th round, take him. Just fucking take him in the 6th round. 7th round, maybe. Because he's not going past then. He is a beast. He's going to give you 20 plus points a game. Grab his ass. Another quarterback I will suggest grabbing, Kyler Murray, rookie. Something you're going to know about me is I am not afraid to start rookies day fucking 1 or grab them very early in the draft. A few years back, everybody laughed at me when I grabbed Dalvin Cook and Kareem Hunt round 1 and 2. They weren't laughing when I won the league at the end of the year. You got to be smart with your rookies. Obviously, you don't want to bring a rookie in that you know is not going to be playing day 1. If they have the starting job, lock them in. Kyler Murray has something to prove. Arizona, this guy's going to tear it the fuck up. He's got nothing but passing weapons behind him. He's got a pass-catching running back and a line that could actually block this year. Probably 20th or something in the league in blocking, but definitely grab Kyler Murray. He's throwing 40 to 50 balls. At least a fucking game. 300 plus yards, maybe 3 touchdowns on average. And he has run ability. Grab him. And I'm telling you, this is his year to break the fuck out. Mitch Trubisky. The guy is a learning freak of nature. He studies that game and is so diligent with how he play calls and growing from that 2nd season. Watching him last year towards that end, that guy was meticulous. He was Baker Mayfield-esque. I say, get yourself Mitchell Trubisky. If he's there round 10, 11, he's my starting quarterback. Same thing goes, I'll split this one and I'll put another guy in the mix. Lamar Jackson. And I'll tell you why Lamar Jackson needs to be your starter. He could probably win you this fucking thing. I talked earlier about Cam Newton. Cam Newton used to be a top tier quarterback because he had that run pass ability. Now comes Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson. He's, last year, I think he only played about 10 games, maybe 7, I'm not sure. The motherfucker almost ran for 800 yards. Unbelievable. And only 5 times has a quarterback ran for plus that and was a top 5 quarterback in the modern fantasy football era. Michael Vick, Cam Newton being another one, and Randall Cunningham, old school back in the day. But obviously everybody knows Michael Vick, having him on your team back in the day was, everybody wanted Vick. He was number 1. So that's quarterbacks. There's so many great quarterbacks out there this year. Very, very heavy. You could really do great with all of them. But let's talk running backs. This year's a little funky, man. Todd Gurley's not going to be your number 1 pick. He's a little banged up this year. You know who is going to be your number 1 pick? Saquon fucking Barkley, the beast in New York. This guy, if he doesn't do 2,000 all-purpose, I'll be fucking shocked. He's a freak of nature. He really is. Watching him run the ball, New York needs to run the ball to establish their passing game, especially with a guy like Eli Manning back there who, let's just be real, he will not be starting by the end of the season. Keep an eye on Jones because you might be grabbing him by week 8, week 9, and might give you a fantasy run to the playoffs. We shall say, we don't know, but remember, draft different from mid-season and waiver wires. We're going to talk about that in a couple weeks. Your number 1, number 2, number 3, you're going to go Saquon, you're going to go Alvin Kamara, and probably Christian McCaffrey. Those are your 3 guys that are your solid. You want them. Let's talk about the guys this year that I'm looking at, and I'm like, yo, let's go back to the well with this motherfucker. Dalvin Cook. If you didn't watch that 80-something yard run that he had the other day, and he showed that burst speed at the end after he stumbled and then fucking took off for another 15-yard separation. This guy is going to have a breakout season. He is a year removed from that ACL, which if you know anything about sports, or injuries, after they heal, they get better. They're not worse. So he's stronger than ever. He's got that explosiveness, and I think He's going to be a top 5 back by the end of this year. They have to establish the run in Minnesota to throw the ball to those great wide receivers. Another guy I have my eye on this year, he's out in Green Bay. And he's got some of the best quarterback you'll ever have in Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Jones. This motherfucker was a beast when he's on the field and healthy. And Aaron loves him. If you get that Aaron Rodgers blessing, consider yourself a top 10 running back. So you could sleep on an Aaron Jones and maybe grab him 4th or 5th round. Who knows? But remember I talked about rookies? I'm going to give you 2 right now that they need to be on your team day 1. And that's David Montgomery on the Bears and Josh Jacobs for the Raiders are going to be pounding the rock, especially in Oakland. If he doesn't get 300 touches, Josh Jacobs, I'll be shocked. So based off pure volume alone, I'm taking him 2nd round. So kind of how my draft is panning out, everything that I've talked about right now. If I have the opportunity, I'm going to go wide receiver, and then sleep on a little running back action and try to grab a Josh Jacobs or a David Montgomery, maybe in round 3, if they're still there. But there are going to be guys out there like a Chris Carson or a Derrick Henry. Remember his 200-yard games last year, bro? He's getting more rocks this year. He's going to have a lot more than that. So there are a lot of great running backs late. Sony Michel of the Patriots. Remember I talked about that Kansas City offense? Both Williams. Damian, I would think, because you got that pass-catching run ability. Again, you watched him bust out for that 70-something yard catch with Pat Mahomes, throwing that fade on the back foot. That motherfucker's got some talent. Let's just be real. Pat Mahomes. Cheers to you, bro. Real quick, 3 guys I'm avoiding. I'm avoiding Melvin Gordon this year. I don't know what's going on there. I'm avoiding Tevin Coleman. I don't know what's up in San Fran. He's super talented. I don't know what's going to happen. Marlon Mack. Coming in this year, we had such high hopes for you, Marlon. And then Andrew Luck said bye-bye. But Jacoby Brissett and Marlon have a relationship there. So that might be a budding thing you could look at in a late round. Maybe grabbing Marlon. If he's there in round 8 or 9, just grab him. I doubt he's going to be, but he might be. He's a solid RB1 that you could throw in the flex to probably get yourself 10 points. And now we're going to talk wide receivers. And before I just mentioned to you, I'm taking wide receivers round 1 and 2 this year. Probably in all my drafts, depending on where I'm picking. But I'm really going to target this because I think it's kind of the thinnest I've seen wide receivers in a while. It's a heavy drop off from the top 3. And your top 3 is you got DeAndre Hopkins, you got Devontae Adams, and Julio Jones. So those are your top 3. And you could even throw Adam Thielen and Michael Thomas into that mix. And I probably would. You could interchange any of those 5 guys. So what I do is I'm taking DeAndre Hopkins. He's the most talented wide receiver with Deshaun Watson throwing him the ball. He gets everything in single coverage. Just fucking go with him. And then round 2, if he's still there, I'm hooked on a motherfucking Thielen this year. Again, volume play I like for a wide receiver too. You're getting 8 to 12 targets a game. Please and thank you. But again, I have a couple sleeper wide receivers, pick late, that are probably going to end up being top 10. Those guys are Chris Godwin of Tampa Bay. When Mike Evans was out last year, Chris Godwin was the guy. When Deshaun Jackson was off the field, he, I think, caught 100 yards for those games. He was on my Yahoo team, and he was a great fill-in late in the season when we had plenty of injuries. He was solid, man, and I really think now that those guys are gone and solidifies himself as the number 2, if not probably the number 1, and Jameis Winston, he's a chucker, bro. He's going to throw it 40 times a game. Chris Godwin's, just by share alone, he's going to have 5 to 10 targets a game. Get on that. That's a late round. That could be a 7th round pick. People might sleep on him, which is a great thing because then he ends up in your fantasy lap and you're like, thank you, gods. I'm going to give you a number 2 you need to be looking at. And he's in Pittsburgh. James Washington. James Washington caught that beautiful ball from the backup the other day. Now he's going to be that number 2 right behind Juju Smith-Schuster, who, again, if you could slide him right into that number 2 pick, if he's probably going to get picked round 1 or number 2. But if you come back door into round 2 and Juju Smith-Schuster is sitting there, grab his ass Antonio Brown numbers from Antonio Brown prime numbers. They have such a connection there, grab him. But if you miss Juju, grab James really late. He might sleep until round 9, 10, 11 because people think Moncrief is going to be the number 2, but he's not. No, James Washington is the most talented. He came on strong last year. And by the way, in that offense, you got one of the best running backs, James Conner, sliding back to the running backs. Keep an eye on him. If you could grab him early, fucking grab volume. Yes, please. And another guy you're going to need to have for many reasons why I love me some fucking Josh Gordon is because homie blazes. Yeah, buddy, won't you hear that? Yeah. Josh Gordon is a marijuana stud, and he only has the best quarterback in football throwing him the ball. And who's that? This fucking asshole. I just hate the Patriots so much. Sorry. But yes, he's the greatest quarterback of all time. If he's throwing you the ball, I want to have you on my team. Julian Edelman, he's going to go early. He's probably going to go 4th or 5th round just because of the volume he gets. Josh Gordon might sleep to 7, 6, 7. He'd be a nice wide receiver too to grab there. He's going to have heavy volume. Josh Gordon is a beast. When he was on the field last year, he was the best player on the field. Grab Josh fucking Gordon. I'm gonna give you one more wide receiver just because I saw how he was playing the other day and I'm really excited about Dallas's offense, especially if Zeke is gonna be on the field. Michael Gallup. Watch out for this guy. Another guy you could grab late. I like him. Get on that horse and gallop some Michael because he's going to be fucking awesome this year. And now let's talk some fucking tight ends. Tight ends. And last year was a fucking problem with tight ends. Bro, they were thin. They were terrible. Fuck you last year. But this is a new year and it's deep and there is a plethora to choose from. We'll just go off the bat with the top 3. You got Kelsey, you got Kittle, and you got Ertz. Just those 3. Book them. 3rd, 4th, 5th round, that's probably where they're going to slide to. Kelsey might go round 2, but this might be a regression season for him because they just have so many mouths to feed there. We'll see. And some people like an OJ Howard might lap a Kittle this year. So some of my top tight ends, I like OJ Howard. Talking about that Tampa Bay offense and Jameis Winston loving to chuck the ball. He's that guy, man. When he was on the field healthy last year, again, he was top 5 tight end. So get him on your lineup. Make sure you grab him 8th round, maybe OJ Howard. That would be a nice grab for OJ. I like that. Another solid tight end that you need to have on your lineup, and he loves his tight ends. Do you remember this guy, Antonio Gates? I think he caught a couple touchdowns from Phillip Rivers. A couple. There's another guy that's there, and he's been injured, but he's healthy. Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry's healthy. I am going to like seeing him and Phil Rivers this year. Antonio Gates had to come out of retirement to fill in Hunter Henry's role. And Antonio Gates still did decent at his old age. Put Hunter Henry into the mix, dude's a beast. Book him for a top 10 tight end this year. And my last tight end that I have to mention, he's a rookie. I love him in Detroit, is TJ Hawkinson. I think he is going to tear it up. I love that Matthew Stafford finally has a good tight end other than Eric Ebron to throw to. It's going to be awesome to watch them play. Together, I'm going to say average 6 catches, 80 yards, and a touch a game. That's going to be like his average. So get him round 7, round 8, maybe 9. If he slides, I'm not sure, but he might be there. Grab some TJ. You're going to enjoy him later. A couple guys to avoid, just real quick. It's like a Colts theme here. Jack Doyle. I feel like we got to pour one out every fucking time we mention a Colts. Just take a hit. Just sucks. I also think avoid Greg Olsen this year. Cam, I don't trust Cam. I don't trust the Panthers. I think you could totally avoid them altogether. So other than Christian McCaffrey, you want to have him in your lineup. But Greg Olsen, no, I don't think you could have a wide receiver there. Maybe DJ Moore if you want to slide him in the flex a couple weeks. Go ahead, but I doubt it. And lastly, I'm going to avoid Tyler Eifert. The guy just can't stay healthy. Bengals are going to be terrible this year. I don't want anything to do with Cincinnati. Notice I haven't talked about any of them. Fuck Cincinnati. Now let's finalize this with the defenses. If you draft defenses, I choose to sometimes. I also choose to stream. It depends what league I'm in. If it's a defense heavy league where they got a lot of points, I'll just stream. because you could just interchange them week in, week out and play matchups. But if not, if you are in a league where defenses need to hold their point value, then you need to own these 3 defenses. You need to have Chicago, Los Angeles, and Jacksonville. Those 3 are solidified defenses. They will give you the points you need to keep a nice base in your lineup. Defenses to avoid: Dallas, Indianapolis, Kansas City. I mean, these guys are just gonna put up a lot of points against. Just stay away from those. But my suggestion, depending on the lineups that you have, I would stream this year. I think there's a lot of good matchups. There's a lot of young quarterbacks trying to find their way. You saw the other day with Garoppolo in Denver. That was a shit show for him. Not to say that Garoppolo is going to do that all over the place, but at the same time, I would play that matchup. I would play Denver against, a lot of teams, because that defense is going to come on strong this year. So get Denver if you're looking at another strong defense. Another strong defense every year, Baltimore and the Chargers. I think you could draft both and be happy with them, maybe sit with them all year. And you could use that to your ability and hopefully win yourself a championship. Fantasy football this year, I didn't even break the surface of what is out there this year. It's so fucking deep. There are so many young rookies, so many great veterans coming back. I am so excited for this season. I'm sure you are. Please comment below. Who are you going after? Who should I go after? If I didn't talk about them, I'm sorry. There's just so many people to talk about. Let me know if this is something you want me to do, maybe on a weekly basis. Maybe get it out on Saturday, the day before. So maybe you're doing DraftKings lineups and you want to get those in. I could definitely help you there. You could always hit me up on Instagram, DM me your questions. I'm GoStoner's. I would love to talk football with any of you people out there. I love all you guys. Thank you for watching. Before I get out of here, we're gonna celebrate the season with a delicious dab, as this is just finishing up. We have some of this beautiful sauce right here. Oh, goddamn, look at that. So guys, to celebrate the season, I'm gonna take this fat dab. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you so much. Hit me up with any of your questions. Don't forget, if you're watching right now, you might as well subscribe. I mean, fuck, it's probably 30 minutes into this motherfucker, who knows? Hit that bell. I'll see you guys on the next video. Please stay lit. Cheers. Oh, mama. Cheers, guys.